Hi folks, here's a few thoughts about the relationship between your string choice. This is for classical and flamenco, in other words nylon strung guitars. Relationship between there's lots on YouTube about choice of strings, and there's nothing definitive about that. Brands, medium tension, low tension, high tension, all the rest of it. There's plenty of videos about that. But that's only a part of the story, because there's a relationship between, the way I see it, there's three things that you need to get right in combination. One of them is your choice of string, yeah. The tension of the string. But the other two things are the scale length of your instrument and the action, the height of the string off the fingerboard, off the frets. Those three things all have a bearing upon one another. And if you can get all three of them married just right, your guitar is going to play great and it's going to feel great. Now, I've come to these conclusions because I've got two nylon string guitars here. One is my 1980 Japanese Aria classical guitar, which for many years I've used for playing flamenco on, because it has a bright tone. I took the action down, modified it. You can see I have a video about this. The other one is a more recent acquisition that I've had for a year or two, and that's the well-known Yamaha 182F flamenco model with cypress back and sides, solid spruce top. Now, apart from being a classical and a flamenco model and therefore sounding different, I mean, I'll do exactly the same thing. These are brand new strings on here, mind you. On the old Aria they're not, so there will be a difference. But good flamenco sound. Now, apart from the build of the woods and the sound and stuff, there is a difference between these two guitars regarding the strings and scale length, because this Aria had a 655, in other words 655mm scale length. The Yamaha flamenco guitar has a 650, so therefore this one has 5mm longer scale length, quarter of an inch if you like. Now, I have never really bothered much about switching strings and experimenting with strings very much. For all the years I've been using this, I used the normal tension D'Addario EJ45s, the old favourites. I never saw any reason really for excuse me, from changing away from those. Sorry. EJ45s, that's what's on here. Now, I put also those strings on this one. 5mm, quarter inch less scale length. Now, because this one is 5mm longer scale length, to crank it up, to wind it up to concert pitch, you need to tighten the string more. with the less scale length, you don't tighten it quite so much to get the same pitch, the note. Therefore, it was very, very noticeable that the string tension on this with EJ45s on, normal tension, the string tension on this with only 1/4 of an inch, that is, only 5mm difference, was significantly, very noticeably more tension on the string on this. More tension on the string. I had EJ45s on here, 5mm less scale length, and the string was significantly less tension. And after playing it for quite, I put up with it for quite a few years, had the action's quite low on this, and it was okay, but I couldn't switch from one to the other comfortably, one guitar to the other comfortably. And then it got so sometimes when I get carried away playing flamenco, I get a little bit heavy-handed, and these strings, basically I came to the conclusion they were too slack, even though they're normal tension, because I had a lower scale length, and it just didn't suit. I don't know. I felt like I was making more mistakes. Strings didn't snap back into place quick enough, and so I thought, well, how can I make these two guitars feel almost the same to play? Well, the answer is the longer scale length, normal tension EJ45s, D'Addario EJ45s on this one, and the hard tension EJ46s on this one. There's only about 1/1000th of an inch difference in the actual gauge of the strings, and it more or less slightly heavier strings on the shorter scale, normal tension strings on the longer scale, and then the string tension on these two guitars feels the same. Now, when I switched onto the hard tension EJ46s on this one, it probably gave me slightly more neck relief for the extra tension and everything, and the action seemed a little higher, obviously a bit harder to press down. So what I did only yesterday, because when you have harder tension strings, there is not as much travel on the string, so therefore you can probably get away with a bit lower action. And I lowered the action just a bit more on this one, because I'd put the hard tension string on, and much to my surprise, actually, after I lowered that string again, it was just as easy to play. After I lowered the action just a tiny bit, it was just as easy to play with these hard tension as it was for the normal tension, which were too floppy. So basically, I'm very happy now. I have two guitars, apart from the very, very slightly longer stretch on this one, because it's the 5mm, 1/4 inch longer scale length. But apart from that, these two guitars now, they feel pretty much, they sound totally different from one another, but they feel pretty much exactly the same to play. So I'm very happy with the result. So don't forget, it's not just the strings you choose, it's the marriage between the strings, the scale length, and the action. You get those three right together and you'll have an instrument that plays great. So hope this helps.